everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to another beautiful Thursday on Accent Litigation. So this afternoon we have a very interesting subject to discuss. So we're going to be having a chat this afternoon. So we'll be talking about correcting the notions that people have about courts, wrong notions. And one very popular, one very funny joke I've heard a lot of time when I introduce myself as a lawyer, or when someone introduces himself or herself as a lawyer, and the first thing you hear people is, "Oh, may God not allow us to have anything that would make us to go the court way." And we've also seen cases or stories like, "Oh, you don't go to court to come back to become friends," and so many sayings about courts and everything that has to do with litigation, going to court, filing against a case against someone, suing someone. And even why people don't like to go to court and the likes, but when you say you're a lawyer, sometimes people say, "Oh, now I can start breaking people's head. I have someone that can represent me. Oh, let me start suing people around." So this afternoon we'll just be talking about wrong notions, basically the wrong things, wrong perspective that people have about the courts, not just Nigerian court, but just courts generally. So to start with, having a wrong perception of courts can make you deny yourself. It's one of the ways which many people have denied themselves of very good things that they could have achieved if they had been able to put themselves together to go the court way. We have cases where people are about to enter into contracts, arrangements with friends, families, or even business people, and at the end of the day something happened or there's a breach of contract. Someone is supposed to perform a particular part of his or her own bargain, fails to do that or delays in doing it, and as a result of that the other party is at a loss or incurred some loss, or even like maybe some loss, or the default on the other part might even be such that the contract is not even something that can even be performed, whether part performance or full performance or delayed performance, anything, but it just frustrates the whole thing. And because of these wrong notions, we've seen cases where people will say, "I leave it to God," but it is not in all cases that you leave things to God, because God himself is even a God of justice. So if at all times you keep saying, "Let's leave it to God, let's leave it to God," you are shooting yourself, or you are losing out on a great deal. And we've seen cases where people have gone to court and they've made a very good amount of money by way of compensations via the judgments of the court and orders of the court. So for someone who is able to summon courage, go to court, follow the case all through to judgment, got judgment in millions of naira. Most times when we see some of these decisions reported in newspaper or even in the news, we're always like, wow, wow, wow. You can look at this GT Bank Innocence case. It's one very beautiful case that every business owners out there would want to get that kind of compensation. So you can imagine Innocent saying that, "Oh, we're leaving it to God." The case that has become a precedent for most business owners now, it has encouraged people to know that they can have their rights enforced in court when there's a breach of contract or when someone fails to perform a duty. So you can even sue medical doctors, or you can sue like any professional. Let's say someone, you have a contract to do something and the person failed in doing it, you can sue for liabilities and all of that. So it's not in all cases that you keep saying, "Oh, let's leave things to God," and all of that. And also sometimes you will just say, "Oh, I want to maintain a relationship, I don't want to hurt anyone," and people keep hurting you, and you keep like you're always at the receiving end. So this afternoon we'll just be talking about wrong notions of people, how people see the court, and we're just going to be correcting all of these things so that if there is a need for you to go to court, these notions, this perspective, this belief is not going to hold you back in doing the right thing. So one of the wrong notions that people have made or people have formed about the court is that you can't get justice in court. At times people are always of the belief that, oh, judges are corrupt, lawyers are corrupt, and they give someone who is guilty, they give like they switch things. Or you call something that is black, you call it white, something that is white, you call it black, and all of that. Some of these opinions, they are opinions that people, they've not experienced it, but because they've heard people say, oh, this is how the court is. Some people have not even been to the gate of a courtroom, but then they hold on to this belief and they keep holding on to it and they work with it. So it shouldn't be. If you've not experienced something, I wouldn't encourage you to, because of what you've heard people say about the court system, form an opinion, because some of these things people say, they are not actually true. So the court is a place where you can actually get justice, or you can get compensations. And we've seen so many testimonies of people, like surmounting courage, like taking the courage to file an action in court, see it through to the end, and at the end of the day they get justice. We've seen so many cases of child violators being who face the wrath of the law, being found guilty of the allegations against them, and now they are in custody of the correctional center, formerly known as the Nigerian Prison Service. So we have so many cases like that, cases of kidnappers, cases of armed robbers, cases of murderers, cases of, aside from even criminal now, cases of people who entered into contractual relationship with people, and there's a breach of that relationship, and they sought the courts to make judgment, to like intervene, mediate. And we've also seen cases where the court has not even, like, the court has had to put on the robe of a mediator. So the court is even a place where people have matters resolved amicably. Like in Lagos State, we have the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. This is a place where you go to parties, you sit at a round table. So it's not a court where a judge will sit and impose things on you. When you go to the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse, it is a place where parties come together to discuss and to both find and agree at a way of resolving their dispute. So this is to let you know that you can even resolve matters amicably. And we've even seen cases where in court, especially in family courts, where the court tries to bring the parties together. Instead, we've seen cases of parties who go to court for divorce proceedings, and at the end of the day, because they are able to present the matter before a judge who is able to see through the lenses and advise both parties, encourage them, and all of that. We've seen some divorce cases, like divorce parties who went to court with the hope of, oh, we're going to scatter this marriage, let me just give you the papers and we are done. And at the end of the day, these people, they have their marriage resolved and brought back in unity, and they are able to appreciate the mediation part of the court. And we've seen cases like that where the parties even come back together and they even still have children at the end of the day. So this is to let you know that there is a lot of beauty in this court system. So you shouldn't just shut yourself out from the advantages where you can make of filing an action in court. So this is to correct the notion that you can get justice in court. You can get justice in court. So if you have that impression, or you have that belief, or you have that understanding that, oh, I can't get justice in court and the likes, that is not true. You can get justice in court. You can get your matters resolved in a very amicable and peaceful way, even while still following the various laid down, because there are procedures in our court system. You don't just go to court to throw things at the judge. So this is why sometimes people feel that, oh, there are so many technicalities, because you can't just come to court and say, oh, this person has done this. Our judges, they are humans too, so they need to hear from each party, and that's why you keep there's a procedure in the court where you have to file your papers, you have to file your claims. And the court, like they say, like we are made to understand, the court is not a Father Christmas, like judges are not Father Christmas. So if you don't ask for some things from the judge will not grant such a prayer. So you filed an action in court and you did not draft your prayers very well, or you didn't make ask the court to give you some to grant some request, or to give you some reliefs, either monetary relief, or it might be an injunction or things like that. So if you don't ask the court to do some things, even when the court knows that, oh, this is what this person is expected to get at the end of the day, but because you've not asked, because a judge will not descend into the arena. They are judges, so they are not litigants. So even when sometimes the judge knows that, oh, this person ought to get this amount of compensation, or even when the judge is even willing to award compensation to the tune of 1 million, and you've just asked for 100,000, yes, the judge has the discretion to award more, but then in most cases the judge would usually go with the request or the prayers you've stated in your court paper. So this is why when filing an action in court, you don't just rush to court. Try to sit down with your lawyers. Don't be in a hurry. We have cases where people would just want to rush to court, and when the lawyer is even trying to explain some things to you, but because you just feel that, oh, this is how things need to be done, let's just do it that way. Sometimes you need to listen to your lawyers. If they're advising you on, oh, let's go about it this way, let's do it this way, let's couch the prayers this way, let's file this type of action. So try to listen to a legal practitioner, someone who is into court practice, to advise you when you want to make a decision to go to court. Then the second notion we'll be correcting this afternoon is people's belief that it is shameful and bad to settle some cases in court. So let's take, for instance, you have a family matter. We've seen cases where some divorce proceedings, people have had to just remain silent in a marriage where violence and all of that is the order of the day. And violence is not limited to a man violating his wife. We've seen cases where women are the one violating the husband. So as a man, don't just endure a marriage because, oh, how will I say it out there that my wife beats me? Because it kind of sounds like something that is a shameful thing. But then if you are going through things, instead of you just burying your head in shame, why not just say it out, reach out for help? So don't say that, oh, it is very bad for me to go to court, or I don't want people to know what I'm going through, or you have things that you just feel that, oh, this is a private affair. Because if you go to court, there are people that will get to know the stories or things that you are trying to cover, or things that you are trying to keep as a private affair. So there is no shameful or bad thing in taking a matter to court. So we've seen cases where people have issues with family members, church members, or they are members of the same religious belief, or even friends, but they are like, oh, what will people say? You're taking your friend to court and all of that. But if the friend knows that, respects that that relationship, the friend will not hurt you. So if you know that the only place where you can, because we have some people that you can call family members to talk to them, they wouldn't budge. You can call pastors or colleagues or people they respect. Some people don't even respect anybody, so there's no one you can call. So the only person that can like talk to them, and it's not even like talking to them now, because when the court makes a decision, it is binding on whether, or irrespective of your status, the court's decision is binding on you. So, and you can enforce these decisions of the court. So if you know that, oh, this my friend, if I talk to him, he will not do what we've agreed to do. We've entered into a contract agreement for him to provide some things or to supply some things. Money has passed to him. You've paid. You labored for that money. So why should you be sentimental, or why should you try to just try to manage things when you've tried to find? We encourage people to manage issues, but when you know that you've done all you can do, you've exhausted all available remedies and all of that, and nothing is forthcoming, you may try to give it a shot at the court. And when the court compels to do something, it is binding. And when the person fails to do it in a civil action, the person can be charged for contempt, disobeying court order and instruction. So this is why you shouldn't feel bad. It is not a shameful thing to settle cases in court, family case, irrespective of the case. the status of the case, the subject matter. We've seen cases where before now, when you talk about rape cases or violation of child molestation, people are like, oh, I don't want this girl's story to be out there, and people keep keeping these things to themselves, and that's why there is a rise in the number of cases in this line of line or in this line. So but now that we have so many cases in court now, if you go to our courtrooms now, at least in a particular court there's always at least one or two cases of child molestation. And in Lagos State we have, I'm talking about Lagos State because we operate from Lagos, so that's why I'm saying Lagos State. We also have these provisions in other states of the federation too. I know in Ekiti State they frown, like the Ekiti State really has a law that even protects women and makes provision for sexual offences and the like. Same way in Abuja too, same way in almost all states of the federation. So these are crimes that are really really frowned at. So before now, cases of child molestation, even marital molestation, so husband beating wife, wife beating husband, and like a man not providing for his household and all of that. So sometimes people are like, oh, you can't take the father of your child to court, or you can't do this one, oh, you can't expose this child, the child has been molested, the child will not get someone to marry her or to marry him when she's old, because people will already know that, oh, this child was raped when she was at a very tender age and the like. So these are things that have discouraged people from taking a matter to court or initiating an action in court. And people keep doing these things because they know that nobody will challenge me, nobody will file an action against me. But now there are lots of cases, like Lagos State, like I was saying, Lagos State has the sexual offences court, and the only thing they do in that court, all matters in those courts, this court have been designated as sexual offences court, the only thing they do there is just to prosecute sexual offenders. So this is to let you know that when you go through some things, don't just keep it to yourself. If the law has made provisions for ways to resolving these disputes, then I would advise that you take advantage of the court. The court is not just there for us to know that, oh, we have court. It is for, because we have able judges, so it is for our judges to work. So let's give these judges more work. Yeah. So another notion that would also be correcting this afternoon is the notion that the court takes time. Yes, I will agree to an extent the court takes time. But then if you are able to know how the court system works, you will appreciate some of these things. Because when you file a matter in court, there is a time frame for everything you are doing. So you don't just file a case today and the next day you're already in court. The next day the court hears the case, like parties give evidence. The next day the court gives judgment. It's not like, it doesn't just happen like that. And jokingly, sometimes when I'm going out, like if I have a court proceeding on a particular day and I just tell my parents, so I'm going to court, there's always one prayer, you will win, you win your case, like something that they keep saying every day. And I'm like, I'll just tell them, some days I go to court, it's just to say like maybe one or two things that we are done for the day. So I had to just explain to them how court works. So it is not every day that people go to court that they go to win cases. Some are they are in stages. Fine, you want to win your case, but they are in stages. So you don't file the matter in court today, and the next day the matter will be heard, will be assigned to a court. So there are ways, like there are stages. When you first initiate a matter, like you file the matter in court, you file at the registry. So the registry will still have to pass it down to a sheriff of the court to serve the process. Because if you are taking me to court, you should notify me so that I can be well prepared. I can prepare myself. If I need to get a lawyer, I can get a lawyer to attend my case. If I need to respond to what you've said them, because you've said your own story, so I need to also have time to also say my own story too. So after serving the court papers, the court gives me time to file my response. And after doing that, the court will also assign it to a judge. So until a matter is assigned to a particular judge, You can't keep going to the court too because there's nothing to do. So after the case is assigned to court. When it comes up, most times when the case comes up for the first time, it comes for what is called mention, just for you to bring it to the attention of the court that, oh, we filed the case and it is before your lordship. So after this is done, the next stage is to ensure that parties file their papers. When parties file their papers, when everybody has filed unnecessary papers, and sometimes when people file their papers, that's not the final paper to be filed in the case. So you see cases where people raise objections, they try to query some of the things you've done, if you've not done it properly, or even when you've done it properly, some people will still try to query it just to give the best shot of their client's case. So it is after all of this is done, then parties are invited over for them to give their oral evidence. If it is a case where oral evidence is allowed, some cases you just file like fundamental human rights. You need not be in court to start saying all the story. So when you just state everything in your affidavit, that's what the lawyer will just move in court. So if it is a case that is contentious, and when we say contentious, a case that I've said it is white, the other party is saying it is black. So both of us needs to come to the court to prove that what I'm seeing is white, and the other party needs to come to court to prove that what he's seeing is black. So it is in the process of all this evidence, giving evidence and all of that, that it kind of looks like the court is a time waster. The court is not a time waster. There is no judge too that desires to be on a case for long. And fine, yes, you see some cases that we not seen like over 4 or 10 years, particularly land transactions, land matters. So we have cases like that that take time, no doubt, but then if you have the patience to follow through a case to the end, you'll be glad you did. So then another notion that would also correct this afternoon is the notion that only rich people use the courts. There's this saying that the court is the hope of the common man. But then sometimes people have also changed it to say that the court is also the court of those who are able to pull the strings, those who are able to, that when you know who is who in the legal system, then you can have your case settled the way you want it. But then the court is not just for rich people. So even if you're unable to afford the service of a lawyer, Nigeria has a legal aid system where you can have access to lawyers for free. So if you are saying, oh, the reason why I don't want to go to court is because I can't afford the lawyer, or because the reason why I don't want to argue a case that has been filed against me, because we've also seen cases too where people would say, oh, someone has sued me, someone filed an action against me, but I don't have money to get a lawyer. I'd rather let it go and let the person just have his way. Because when the matter is filed in court and the party that has been sued, party that the action was filed against, fails to come to court, the courts will assume that what the person is saying is right, and the court can give judgment against you even when the person is wrong. So that is why it is good when an action is filed in court, if you know that, oh, what this person is saying is not the true position or is not a true reflection of all that has transpired, it is good you file in your papers, you file your response. So that's why there's always time. There is no action that is filed in court and the court will say it is undefended or you cannot defend it. It is only when parties don't have a defense, like if when you know that, oh, this person is saying you are owing him, you're actually owing, there's no defense like that. It's not a denier. So the only thing you can do is just to see how you can manage the relationship. So if an action has been filed against you and you don't have access to, like, you don't have access to fund for you to engage the services of a lawyer, you can take advantage of the legal aid. And the Nigerian Legal Aid Act provides that anyone whose income in a year is not up to does not exceed 5,000 naira, you have the opportunity to approach the legal aid office for legal service. And we've even seen cases of people whose income are even more than 5,000, but then they are able to give reasons to the legal aid system why they need the services of a lawyer for free. And even in court, the court recommends this to people. So we've seen cases where, especially for tenancy matters, we see cases where landlords go to court to fight their cases themselves, and during trial and all of that, everything is just a mess. I've seen it a lot of time in courts where people represent themselves and everything is just a mess, and a tenant who is like validly owing and who is expected to vacate a premises is trying to take advantage of the fact that you are handling things yourself. So don't just do things yourself, irrespective. You can get a lawyer to do things for you for free. And that is why you need to like build relationship with people. You need to leverage on some relationships. So let's just imagine you have lawyer friends and you just keep doing things on your own. You can leverage on relationship and get things done even at a very cheap rate. So I will encourage you to always take advantage of every opportunity you have to either defend yourself or to correct a wrong that has been done to you. Then the last notion I'll be correcting this afternoon is the notion that it is a sin to go to court. We have so many religious beliefs, so many religious beliefs and opinions on this, and people even pray against it, like the popular prayer that may God not see what we take us to court. Like, those are the prayers of some people, and people even joke about it that as a lawyer, can you pray that people will not have court cases and all of that. So it is not a sin when you go to court. If someone has wronged you and you go to court, that doesn't mean you don't make it to heaven. It is not a sin, because even if you check through the holy books, there are even court systems where people are about to mediate, and we have some apostles in the Bible who were even lawyers. So this is to let you know that God is not against going to court to enforce matters. And there was a time I was in court, and someone jokingly said, it was actually serious, and it was like, you can't come into the courtroom, you can't come into the courtroom. And I was like, why can't you enter the courtroom? He said you can't take a bow. So that's like a very serious religious belief. So for such a person, so let's just imagine a wrong has been done to him. Because he can't take a bow, he will refuse to go to court, to file an action in court, to remedy a wrong that the court can fix. So don't let be too over religious about things. If you take a bow, that doesn't mean you've denied Jesus as your Lord and Savior. So it's just courtesy. And one of the things I jokingly told the person was like, okay, fine. If you are saying you can't take a bow to a judge, if you see someone who is older than you, don't you take a bow to greet? He said he does that. So I was like, okay, what's now the difference if you are taking a bow? Like if you see someone who is older than you, just take a bow, you greet him. You've also taken a bow. So if taking a bow to as a sign of respect and courtesy to people is wrong in the court place, like within the court environment, then you shouldn't do it at all. So let's not be like we are an hypocrite at last. So that's not this is not a religious section. So we're just correcting notions about the court. So don't just say because this is my religious belief, or this is what I believe about the court, I don't want to do this, and because of that you keep missing out a great deal. So for someone who is saying they can't take a bow and all of that, you have a property and someone is encroaching into the property because they are saying, oh, I can't take a bow, I can't go to court and all of that. You get the first land, they take possession of it. You get the second one, someone encroach to the land again, the person gets possession of it. How many lands are you going to get when you know that this thing rightfully belongs to me? So the court is a place where you can enforce not just your rights, but you can also protect yourself, protect your family, protect your possessions. We've seen cases where people keep harassing their neighbors. You can go to court, sue that neighbor to court, and get a restraining order. So these are things there's so many things you can benefit from filing an action in court. So I believe that this afternoon we've been able to correct some things and to also encourage you. Don't just keep silence when you need to speak out, when you need to engage the services of a lawyer, when you need to lodge complaints at the police station, because some legal matters start from lodging a complaint at the police station. So if you notice something suspicious, someone has been coming to your house, person anytime person always flashing torchlight into your rooms and all of that, you can lodge a complaint at the police station. Police will invite the person, and if it is such that you need to get a restraining order, you do so. So I believe that we've picked one or two things from our discussion this afternoon. And next week, Thursday, again on accent litigation, we also come up with another insightful topic that will also benefit you. Thank you, and do have a beautiful week.